Look around a dense forest, and you'll see hundreds of distinct organisms. But look at the global data, and the scale is staggering. Currently, the number of known and described species on Earth sits exactly between 1.7 and 1.8 million. In the NEET exam, this specific numerical range appears frequently. Memorizing foundational data points like this translates directly into easily secured marks. But there is a practical problem with managing nearly 2 million species. If a biologist in India calls a plant by its local Hindi name and a scientist in Brazil uses Portuguese, there is zero clarity on what organism they are actually discussing. Without a universal standard, biological study would collapse into complete disorganization. To solve this, scientists established a strict protocol so that a particular organism is known by the exact same name all over the world. We call this process nomenclature. To manage this massive catalog of life, the scientific community splits the naming rulebooks into two separate jurisdictions, one for plants and one for animals. On screen, you can see the acronym for the botanical governing body, ICBN. This stands for the International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. Now look right next to it at the zoological equivalent, ICZN. Notice the subtle structural shift. This stands for the International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. Exam setters frequently swap for and of to test your precision. Locking in these tiny differences in the prepositions right now allows you to easily bypass standard multiple choice traps. The actual naming format we use today was developed by Carolus Linnaeus. He created binomial nomenclature, a system where every single organism receives exactly 2 words. This botanical illustration shows the common mango, which serves as a perfect case study to observe all the rules in action. Look closely at the text at the bottom, Mangifera indica. Notice the strict capitalization rule. The first word, the generic name Mangifera, always starts with a capital letter. The second component, the specific epithet indica, always begins with a small letter. Next, look at the typography. Biological names are Latinized. When printed, they must be formatted in italics to indicate their Latin origin. If you were to handwrite this name, you would separately underline both words. Finally, look at the very end of the specific epithet. You'll see the abbreviation Lin in standard text. This is the author citation, showing that Linnaeus first described the species. It strictly avoids italics. In a testing environment, if an option violates even one of these microscopic formatting rules, you can automatically eliminate it. Let's put this to work. Here are 4 options for the scientific name of humans. Only one follows every rule on the Linnaean checklist. We drop the first option because the specific epithet sapiens is capitalized. We drop the second because it lacks italics. We drop the third because the author citation is italicized along with the name. That leaves us with the only correct answer. Applying this strict checklist removes the danger of second-guessing and ensures complete accuracy. Once we know the rules of writing a name, we have to look at the process of assigning it. Biologists follow a very specific pipeline to process a newly discovered organism. This flowchart outlines that workflow. First is characterization, then identification, followed by classification, and finally nomenclature. Together, these 4 sequential processes form the basis of taxonomy. However, standard taxonomy is blind to history. It categorizes organisms based on observable characteristics, but it doesn't account for how they are related over millions of years. Look back at the diagram. When we expand taxonomy by adding evolutionary relationships into the equation, we arrive at a broader branch of study known as systematics. The word systematics is derived from the Latin word systema. You can see it right here on the title page of Linnaeus's famous publication, Systema Naturae. To summarize, taxonomy categorizes the living world as it exists today, while systematics reveals how those organisms evolved to get here. Throughout this classification process, we group organisms into convenient categories called taxa. As you see with these nested shapes, a dog is a taxon. But dogs fit inside the larger taxon of mammals, which fits inside animals. Taxa represent categories at very different levels. Let's execute a final rapid review. Get ready to screenshot this core data. Earth's known biodiversity ranges between 1.7 and 1.8 million species. The governing body for plants is ICBN, using the word for. The zoological body is ICZN, using the word of. Under binomial nomenclature, the genus is capitalized and the specific epithet is lowercase. Print the names in italics or separately underline them when handwriting. Place the abbreviated, non-italicized author name at the very end. The strict taxonomic pipeline flows through characterization, identification, classification, and nomenclature. Combine that with evolutionary relationships and you get systematics. By treating these biological definitions as a set of logical, unbreakable rules, you turn a complex chapter into predictable, easily secured points on test day.